Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's blog post. Before we get started, I just want to apologize if I sound a little off today. Dealing with a little bit of a cold, so I will do the best I can to get through this without, creating too much of a mess of it. But it's really important that we have this conversation today because we've got 7 weeks left before the end of the year, and we wake up this morning, the elections are done, the markets are sifting through the results and still waiting for results and thinking about what it all means. The 10-year Treasury auction was about as bad as it gets without them pulling the auction itself. And so it wasn't that well received for sure. And likely because everybody was waiting for the CPI numbers that are going to come out today. And those CPI numbers are going to start a whole nother series of conversations about inflation and the dialogues and everybody's interpretation of what's going on will take those discussions, and that will lead to, unfortunately, all the internet clickbaiters that will push a housing narrative loaded with tragic headlines so that people are forced to look and see that nobody can buy a house. There's a crisis. Everybody's in foreclosure. Burn it all to the ground type thing, because that's what drives clicks, which is what many of them are out there for, is to drive those revenue streams. And we've talked about it before. And so all this talk, with all this information, with all this stuff, hopefully what you've seen over the last few months is the fact that people are still buying and selling houses, and believe it or not, there are still people out there who are refinancing. And all you have to do is look at the numbers from the MBA. Purchases are still taking place. In fact, week over week, they were up last week, so that was pretty cool. Refinances are down, and clearly they're down. I think the last number I saw was 87% over last year's numbers, and that sounds incredibly horrible, and it probably is, but it's not in a vacuum, because last year at this time, there was a boatload of refinances happening. So even a small percentage of a whole lot is still some. And that becomes the point. And the point of this week's conversation is that you have choices. And so do your clients. The reality of all of it is that everybody has to live somewhere. You're either renting where you live or you own where you live. And there's a cost associated with that either way. Now, historically, home ownership is the chosen path for about 65 or so percent of the population, and still widely remains the American dream to many people. And as we've seen recently, millennials and those that are following them still consider home ownership to be something that they strive for in fairly significant numbers. And so the key is, as it always has been in the mortgage industry, regardless of the climate, rates high, rates low, housing market great, housing market terrible, whatever it is, the fundamental principles are most people are going to own where they live, and most of them are going to need a loan to help make that possible. That activity is there as new families are formed, as people die, as people upgrade, downsize, all of those things. It's really important that you make the choice that you're going to remain active, you're going to get out there and get in front of the opportunities that do exist. Because the one thing I can tell you, sitting by the phone, waiting for something to happen is not likely a strategy that's going to give you great rewards. So the point is you've got to make the choice. And the choice is that you've got to have a plan, you've got to have a mindset, and then you've got to have the math to overcome the people in your community, the fear that they may have about the choice that they're going to make. And I think the fourth quarter strategies that you can find in the website can help you do that, whether it be the power of pi, whether it be the birthday calls, whether it be the Black Friday sale, whether it be customer appreciation events, because again, we're heading toward Thanksgiving and the end of the year, and a lot of people like to do that stuff. But even working really hard with your realtors around open houses and help us pick your new neighbor and talking to people, even through social media, who still think that they need to rent versus own, having that conversation again. What is it they're paying for rent, and what would that rent mean in the way of the marketplace for what they could own for the same monthly cost? And in still many parts of this country, home ownership and the mortgage payment is still a better deal than what happens with rent. And remember, regardless of interest rates on mortgages, rent is always 100% interest on a 1-year balloon with no guaranteed option of renewal. So there's always that. So all of these things, the things that are on the website, the fourth quarter strategies that you can find, the things that we've talked about here, things that we've talked about in the past, I invite you to realize that it's about having conversations with people, getting out in front of opportunities, because people are in a position to buy and sell houses, and they're trying to figure out what path is right for them. And now more than ever, a really qualified loan originator who understands their job, who understands the process, who understands their local market, has a huge advantage over an online lender. But you got to get out there and get in front of those conversations. So as I said before, there's 7 weeks left in 2022. How many people are you going to help get into their new homes before we get to 2023? I mean, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be buying and selling homes and moving between now and the end of the year. Are you going to be part of that? And I got a very simple mantra for you to repeat out loud. If it's going to be, it's up to me. There's just 7 weeks left in 2023. So what's it going to be? Are you going to roll up your sleeves and engage into this marketplace and your referral partners and using your database and have personal conversations with people to get in front of opportunities? Or are you going to sit back and hope the phone rings? I like your chances by coming up with a strategy, getting out there and doing something. And as always, if you need help, it's Mike at imtcoaching.com. We'd love to talk to you again real soon. Take care.